Recently, I asked my friends when was the first time that they heard about the one drop rule, and their answers were really incredible. So we're sharing them here, and we'd like to hear yours. So send us an email, tweet us, anything, and let us know when was the first time that you learned about the one drop rule.
Hello, my name is Thomas Lopez, and I am the president of Multiracial Americans of Southern California. And I'm here with my giggly daughter to talk about how I first heard about the one drop rule. But I'm just not going to talk about that. I'm actually going to talk about how the one drop rule is still in work today, but there's a special version of it for Latinos. So, the one drop rule. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of the one drop rule before?
Nope.
No? Okay. So the one drop rule goes something like this. Mm-hmm. Mainly it had to do with blacks, especially living in the segregated South.
Okay.
And the way it worked was like, if you had any amount of black ancestry, then that means you would be counted as black. So if you had like a great-grandparent that was black, but everybody else in your family was white, they would still count you as black.
That doesn't seem very fair.
Well, you know, it was the law at the time, and they called it the one drop rule because it was meaning one drop of black blood
that makes
made
sense.
you black. Well, it does, but it doesn't make sense because there's no such things as black blood.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no such things as white blood.
Blood's the same color.
Right.
Red.
Blood is blood. So, anyway, that's just what they called it as the one drop rule. But now the official laws around, one drop rule are more or less gone. But there is something that I came across that has to do with the one drop rule being applied to Latinos. Okay. And it is found in the census itself. So the census treats Latino identity different from racial identity. They call Latinos an ethnicity and not a race. Okay. And they do this by asking two different questions.
Oh, wait, pause. What's the difference between ethnicity and race?
That's
a
whole other conversation right there. It's a good question, but, I'm
I always
going to
got
cover
confused.
that. That's fine. There is a lot of overlap there, but we don't have time to talk about that. Let's just suffice it to say that the census considers Latino an ethnicity and not a race.
Okay.
So they ask two questions. All right. The first question that they ask is a yes or no question. All right. Are you a Latino? Yes or no? Okay. And the second question they ask is, what is your race? And they give you 6 different races to choose from: white, black, Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native American, and some other race. Okay. Now, starting in 1997, the government changed the forms to allow you to check off more than one race. It used to be you could only pick one race, all right? But now you can pick as many races as you want. So you can have white and black and Asian and have those all combined in one race. But oddly enough, they never changed the Latino question, okay? So the Latino question still today is a yes or no question. Are you Latino or non-Latino, okay? If you answer yes that you're Latino, then you have a couple more options. You can say Mexican or Mexican American, Puerto Rican, Cuban, or some other Latino identity. Actually, the census likes to use the word Hispanic, so I might jump between the terms Hispanic and
Latino and
Latino.
Hispanic are kind of the same thing?
Yeah, they're kind of the same thing, and just for conversation's sake, we'll use them to mean the same thing.
Okay.
But what's funny about that question is that it's a yes or no question. Are you Latino? Yes or no? But me, my father was Mexican American from El Paso, Texas, and my mother was German Polish from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, you, being my daughter, okay, your mom is Latina, and I'm mixed Latina, so you too are also mixed. You're Latina, but you also have some German Polish
So you can say that you're Latino and I'm also this too.
Right, so you're kind of two things at the exact same time, right?
Awesome.
So if I asked you, which are you? Are you Latino or are you, German Polish? Yes or no? Yeah, but you have to pick one. You have to say yes or no. Can you say yes and no at the same time?
Not really.
Not really. That makes
This
no
is
sense.
a paradox.
Right? That's a paradox. It
Yeah.
makes no sense. So when the census changed to allow people to mark one or more categories in 1997, they did not change the Latino ethnicity question. And to this day, it's kind of confusing. So you might ask, what happens if you check off multiple boxes? Right? What would the census do? Do you know?
No.
Who knows, right? And so I asked this question for a long time, and it took me a while to get an answer. But I eventually got a report sent to me from a friend of mine who was involved with the census. And this is what the report said. Prior to 2010, okay, the census had this really elaborate procedure for trying to figure out what ethnicity people are if they marked off multiple boxes or they left it blank. I'm not going to go into that because it's kind of long and involved. It's really interesting, but it is kind of long and involved.
All right.
But then they simplified it, and this is straight from the report. Okay, I'm going to read this straight from the report. Okay, now they were talking in this report. They're talking about the American Community Survey, or ACS. That's ACS. That's a different study that's done from the census, but the Census Bureau does both of these studies. And if the census adopts a certain methodology for one study, they apply that same method to all of their studies, including the census.
So, like, if they do this process for one thing, they're gonna use it for another thing.
Right. So this report is talking about the ACS, but we can assume that it is going to apply to the full census, which is done every 10 years, right?
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. So it says, beginning with the 2010 ACS, the way multiple origin responses are handled in the Hispanic origin question will undergo some changes. Multiple origin responses will continue to be collected, but will be edited to a single response as the Office of Management and Budget mandates. A single origin will be randomly selected from the original reported origins for multiple Hispanic or multiple non-Hispanic responses. On the other hand, part Hispanic responses will be edited differently. All part Hispanic responses will be coded as Hispanic. So in other words, say you were you marked off two Hispanics like Mexican and Cuban at the same time.
Okay.
All right, they are going to randomly assign you to only one. You will be Mexican or Cuban. You can't be both of them at the same time.
That's not very fair.
Doesn't sound very fair. And if you mark both non-Hispanic and Hispanic at the same time, like you marked yes and no at the same time, then they will assign you to the Hispanic category only.
Okay.
So remember when I was telling you about how the one-drop rule worked with black people, and how if you had one black ancestor, they counted you as black and ignored all your other ancestry, right? They're doing the same thing with Latinos.
Okay.
If you or I were to mark off more than one box on the Latino question, they would assign us to only one.
Okay.
And so this is the exact same thing as the one-drop rule, except it's being applied to Latinos, and that's as recent as 2010, so that's still happening today. Yeah?
Almost a decade later.
Right, so there's really nothing, for people like us that have this kind of mixed identity, Latino and non-Latino, there's no real solution for us right now. So there's a problem.
That's sad.
Yes, but things are changing.
Yay!
Things are changing. Right now, the census is considering changes for the 2020 census. That's going to be coming up in about 4 years.
Yeah.
The official recommendation will be made to Congress in April of 2017, and then a final decision will be made in April of 2018. Okay? And what they're thinking of doing is, remember how I told you there were two questions? There was the ethnicity question and a race question. They're going to take those two questions and put them together into one question.
I can't wait for 2018.
So there'll be only one question, right?
Yeah.
So now Latino is not going to be a separate ethnicity anymore. It's going to be considered a race.
All right. So
now you'll have 7 races to choose from, possibly more, but at least Latino is going to be. Now what's interesting about that, remember how I said that on the race question, they allowed you to mark off more than one box?
Yeah. That
means that Latinos are going to get the ability to mark off more than one box. You see, so this policy that they have before, of forcing
Yeah.
you to pick Latino only, is not going to happen. They're going to allow Latinos to mark Latino and white, Latino and black, Latino and Asian. So now people like us will be able to mark out Latino and white at the same time,
Yeah.
and they will continue to count that.
Yeah.
Now that's going to cause all kinds of other changes. Okay, so right now the percentage of the people in the country that mark 2 or more races is just under 3% of the total population. Okay, when they allow Latinos to mark off 2 or more races, that number is likely going to jump from 3% to almost 7%. That's an over 100% increase in the 2 or more
Yeah,
population.
it doesn't sound that big, but it actually is.
Yeah, so that's going to be a huge change. You know, what people think of as multiracial is going to totally change in this country. And now we're going to have all this data coming in about people that are mixed Latino and non-Latino, and they're going to be counted as multiracial. So, yeah, so society needs to get ready for this change. The multiracial community needs to get ready for this change.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up with the latest One Drop news and other videos. Do you have ideas for more video content? Tell us what you'd like to see. We'll see you next time to share more drops of love. Be sure to tell us by commenting here and on Twitter and Facebook how you are spreading drops of love.